So, good evening, my name is Colin Valentine, the creator of Live to Make History. And in this video, we are going to be talking about carbs, why you should be doing carb cycling, and why carbs are one of the most hidden things, why you probably are not getting your results. So, carbs, what are carbs quickly? Carbs are the building blocks of energy. You need carbs to function. Think of sitting, running, even just resting. You need carbs to just function the body in general. Say you want to, build muscle, but you still want to lose fat at the same time. Most people don't understand that you're eating or you're producing too much carbs inside down there. Yes, your stomach. You are eating too much carbs. So, what is carb cycling? Carb cycling. Carb cycle? Are we cycling down the road? Are we carbling down the road? No, carb cycling is basically manipulating your carbohydrates. So some days you'll have higher carbs, whereas some days or other days where you're not training, you will have lower carbs. So think of your training days, you're having 300, 400 grams of carbs. The day you're not training, you might have 100 grams, even less, or maybe you might have anywhere between 100 to 150. Some people may even go below 50 grams, depending on your weight, depending on the physical activity, depends on your muscle mass. Everybody's going to be slightly different. There's not an exact answer. So before we even talk about carb cycling, most people are just not aware you are eating too much carbs, just not aware. Yes, you're probably eating too much carbs. The proof is in the food you're eating. Let me give you an example. Let's just say I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to get to this beach goal, whatever. You're trying to lose weight or whatever. Yes, carbs is life. Food is life. Carbs is life. But when you eat too much of it, what happens? It gets stored as fat. We're going to get to that in a minute. Let's just say, I'm going to cut my carbs today, but I want to eat, I'm going to have banana with almost every meal because I want to, the potassium, I want any of the energy, etc., etc. In a small banana, there's about 20 grams of carbs. In a small banana, let's just say you're eating with every meal. You're having 2 bananas. Let's just say you're eating 3 times a day. So what's that? 2, 4, 6. And there's 20 grams in a banana. So it's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. You just had 120 grams of carbs. And that's just in the banana. Does that make sense? Sometimes you need to be aware of what carbs are, and you need to be aware there's carbs in almost everything. In practically everything you're eating. Even your protein source. Protein has parts of carbs that's inside. So yes, there are carbs in everything you eat. And what I'm just trying to say is you need to be more aware, more conscious of what you're eating, because when you're more conscious, you're more likely to reach your goals quicker. You're more likely to, understand, this has carbs in it, I'm going to try and avoid that, if that makes sense. So as stated, there's literally carbs in everything, or almost everything we are eating. Let me give you an example, because I wasn't aware of how much carbs I was eating. So I said to myself, for 2 to 3 weeks, I want to see where I'm going wrong, because in my training, there was a slight error, not even in the training, just in my body composition. I knew something was wrong and I was producing a bit too much body fat. So with me, I produce fat more in my stomach. First and foremost, you need to understand your body. You need to understand your body and know where do you produce fat, or where do you store fat more. Some people could be the stomach, the lower back. More females, usually the legs, the lower part of the body. Males, usually the stomach, the lower back. Everybody's slightly different. I store more fat in my lower abs, and I was saying to myself, what? It took me a while to work hard for those abs, and all of a sudden now I'm starting to develop more body fat on my my stomach area, the lower part of my abs. And I was saying to myself, okay, let's go back to tracking my meals, because I stopped tracking. Go back to tracking my meals again to see where it's going wrong, but this time don't lie, because a lot of people when they're tracking their meals, they're gonna lie and just don't put things in there, put things that they're not for, they put things that's right in there, and they're gonna put things that's not. They're not gonna put things that is high in sugars, and you're never gonna see results. You've got to be totally honest with yourself. And I said to myself, I'm gonna track my meals and see where it's going wrong. Protein goals, I'm meeting my protein goals. I'm meeting my healthy fat goals. The incorrect error was I was consuming too much carbs. As you're seeing, some days was 400 grams. Some days was even over 500 grams of carbs. So when I was looking back over time, I was saying to myself, it's because you're eating too much carbs. And when I pulled back away from it and I started to do more carb cycling, everything changed. That's why I always say you need to become aware of what you're eating. Yes, the old saying, you are what you eat. You actually are what you eat. Most people just don't understand what they are eating, especially in the Western society, even in my culture as well. We consume too much carbohydrates. It's a thing. We're just consuming too much carbohydrates, and what happens? It gets stored as fat. What happens when you eat too much carbs? You spike your insulin levels, glucose is elevated. Then what happens to the majority of the carbs? It's just going to get stored as fat. You raise your blood sugars. It's just going to get stored as fat because you're not going to use all this energy source. You get stored as fat, and over the years, over the weeks, over the months, whatever, it just builds up as body fat over time, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, etc. And it can lead to other illnesses like diabetes, etc, etc. That's why I always say it's important to watch your carbs. If it's, yes, you need carbs. I'm not trying to say have zero carbs, because I don't believe in that. You just need to make sure you're aware of what you are eating, because carbs can make and carbs can break the body. So become conscious of the carbs you're eating. Track. Don't be scared to track. Use MyFitnessPal. I've touched a video upon how to use MyFitnessPal, which I'm going to link below. But yes, use MyFitnessPal to track your carbs so you know how much you should be eating. So what I'm going to keep saying is, you're probably thinking, how do I track my carbs? How much carbs do I need to be technically eating in a day? This is where it goes to tracking your meals. You need to track your meals. See how your body responds. Am I gaining weight eating this amount a day? Am I losing weight, consuming this amount a day? But most of the majority, I guarantee, 100% I guarantee, you are probably consuming too much carbohydrates. And that is that. So I'm going to keep saying, try the carb cycling. So some days, the day you're not training, you have less carbs. The days you're training, you're going to obviously bump up your carbs again. So you're just manipulating with your carbohydrates. So you don't want to spike your insulin levels too high, especially on the days you're just not training, because the body is going to store it as fat. So remember, we're on nature of adaptation. You don't use it, store as fat. You're going to use it for another day. So everybody's going to be slightly different. Your metabolism, your age, how much muscle mass you have, how tall you are, etc. It's going to be slightly different. So I can't give you an exact answer. All I'm saying is just watch your carbs, because you honestly are what you eat. So I'm going to keep saying, let's go out there and let's continue to live. Let's continue to live to my history. Why? Because you and I, we have one life.